Now that I have all of my modeling finished, I'm ready to set up my joints. Before I start setting them up though, I want to make sure that everything is nice, clean, and organized. One of the most important things that you can do whenever you're rigging is get organized, because you don't want to go into your outliner later on and find pieces of geometry such as plane 1, plane 3, plane 4, plane 5, because they mean absolutely nothing to you. Plane 4 can be an arm or the body or a foot, and it's just gonna be hard to rig this way. We're gonna use this later on. We might not use it as much on this particular rig, but it's very important to name all of your geometry anyways. I've already named some of my geometry here. For example, on my right shoulder, you can see that I named this Satan shoulder underscore right. And for my left shoulder, Satan shoulder underscore left. The forearm, Satan forearm. The hand, Satan hand. The leg or the thigh, Satan thigh right. Leg, Satan hoof. This little fur part, Satan fur. So everything is nice named, and also with freeze transformations on all of these objects. You want to make sure that you delete the history on everything, and you want to make sure that you name it and that you freeze transformations. So everything here is clean. Well, this one still has history, so I want to delete my history, freeze transformations, and this is not named yet. But another thing that I want, besides just having everything nice and organized, I want to combine some shapes, because they're gonna move together. So this body geometry here, this torso geometry, whenever I move it right now, you're gonna see that the outline stays back. What I want to do is combine these with my outline. So I'm gonna select my outline, all of this part's the outline. I want to select the body. I want to move it just to make sure that everything that I want is selected. I want this little part. No, that's part of the fur. I want the belly button for sure. I want this blue part. I want the skull. All the parts in the skull. And the nose of my skull. I'm gonna move to check and see that everything that I want is selected, and I want to combine. So I want to go to my polygons, mesh, combine. So now I have a single part for everything in my torso. You're gonna notice also that I broke the legs into 3 pieces. 1, 2, and 3. This bottom part is combined together with the hoof. So each one of the legs is separated into 3 pieces because I wanted to bend. On the original South Park videos, I didn't find anywhere where the devil really bent his knees at all. But I want to do it for this rig. So they're divided into 3 separate pieces. I have a bunch of different hands. I have a couple of I have like this little outfit, a couple of extra legs, a lot of different mouths up here. I'm not gonna use any of these for now. Right now I'm just gonna use this main object. I want to name everything. Make sure that everything has deleted history, and freeze transformations. You want your channels to be nice and clean. I'm gonna name this mouth 1. Maybe I'll change the name of it later. For now it'll just stay like this. Freeze transformations, delete history. The nose doesn't change, but I don't want to parent it to the, or either parent it or combine it to the head right now, because maybe later on I decide that the nose changes, and so I'll just leave it like that for now. Let's just name it Satan nose. The eyes, let's name it Satan eye underscore right, and Satan underscore eye underscore left for the eyeballs. I wonder if I can name both of them at the same time. Satan underscore eyeball. I guess I can't. Satan underscore eyeball underscore right. Freeze transformations, delete history underscore left for this one. Freeze transformations and delete history. Freeze transformations, delete history. Freeze transformations, and this is my history here. I don't need any of this. Sometimes you can rig history, but like I said, this is a very simple rig and we don't need any of this. So delete history, freeze transformations, delete history. Let's name this Satan horn. That's my left. Transformations, delete history. Oh, it might be an instance. Let's get rid of it. Move it back in. Transformations, delete history. Satan horn right. Freeze transformations and delete history. Let's name these. I'll name these later. Let's start setting up the joints. Okay, so I want to go into my front view. I'm gonna get rid of my timeline and my range slider. Just you don't need to. I'm just doing this so that I have a little bit more screen space. So display, UI elements, time slider, and range slider. I'm gonna start by going into my animation submenu and also looking for my animation shelf. I want to start setting up joints. I'm going to double click my joints, and again, all of this geometry is just getting in the way right now, so let's make a new layer. I'm not going to use this until the very end of the rig, probably until the next part. So geometry, extra geometry layer. I'll assign this. I'll have to delete history and freeze transformations for all of these, but not now. I want to start rigging. Let's make it invisible. This hand I'm not going to use. I forgot why I had it there. Okay, So I want to go into my joint tool. You can either grab it from your shelf here, or go to skeleton, joint tool, option box to get started. I want to reset tool so that everything starts from 0, kind of. And one of the things that I like to do whenever I'm creating my joints is to have my short bone radius and long bone radius stay consistent. Right now, if I were to draw a joint chain, you're going to notice that whenever I make my bone bigger, the joint also grows. And if I make a small joint, if I make a small bone, the joint stays small, and I don't want that. I don't like that variation of joints. I like to keep them constant. So what I want to do here is I want to make my short bone radius to be, let me see what's a good size. Let's try 1, and the long bone radius to be 1 also. I want these both of these numbers to be the same, so that every time I make a joint chain, the size remains the same. Maybe I want them a little bit bigger. I'll try 1.5. I like that. Okay. Everything else is fine. I might want to mess with the scale compensate right now, but we can change this option later. Anyways, let's just start building the skeleton. I want to start on my hips. I'm gonna place my first joint here. I want to make a joint for the beginning of the thigh. I want to make a joint for my knee, and I'm keeping it roughly in the middle. I want to make a joint for the end of my leg, and this will be considered the foot. So I want to make one more joint for the foot. And let's press enter. I want to make a joint right in the middle of my waist, sort of. So let me display my grid. I want to snap it to my grid, so I create my joint. X. I'll do it right in the middle of the skull here. Press enter. I'm going to go back to perspective, and you're going to see that the joints are a little bit of in front of the geometry. It doesn't matter. We'll either move the geometry towards the front or move the skeleton to the back later on. Behind my grid, I want to parent this joint. Well, I want to name them before I even start parenting anything. So this is going to be my left hip joint, left underscore hip joint. It's going to be my left knee joint, left underscore knee joint. This is going to be my left. This is sort of a heel on this. I'll just call it heel. Heel joint. And this last one, I want to name it left foot, or let's call it hoof. Hoof joint. Okay, everything is nice. Now I want to parent. Whenever I'm moving through joints, For example, if I have this joint and then I want to go back down to this joint or this joint or this joint, I'm simply pressing the down arrow key or up arrow key on my keyboard. So right now if I go up, it goes all the way to the top of my chain, and if I go down, it just goes to the next joint down. So that's what I'm doing right now, just pressing up and down on my keyboard. So I want to name this my root joint. This is going to be my root joint, and this is going to be where this is going to be the main joint for almost everything in my skeleton. So I want to select my left hip joint, shift select my root joint and parent. So now my root joint is a main joint for the leg. I want to make that's the same kind of setup for the right leg. So what I'm gonna do is duplicate it to the other side. So I want to start by selecting my left hip joint, go to skeleton and mirror joint option box. I named everything in here left underscore hip. So what I want to ask my joint options is to look for left underscore and replace it with R, capital R underscore, because that's going to be the naming that I'm going to use for the right side. Also want it to be on the X, Z axis, and I always want to have my mirror function under behavior and not orientation. So apply. Oops. I want it under my Y, Z axis. Sorry. There it is. And what you're gonna see here is that everything is named properly now. Right hip, right knee, right heel, and right hoof. It does the naming and the chain just like the other side. I want to start making the joints for the body, and unlike a 3D character, in here I don't need to have a bunch of joints for the spine. I really just need a couple of joints. So what I'm gonna do here, select my joint tool again, click on my root joint, add a joint right on top of this one. Now you're gonna see that it just moves everywhere, but if I want it to go straight up, I'm gonna hold shift. So shift, and now look at this, it just goes straight up and down. So I'm gonna set up right above this. I'm gonna set up the next joint, still holding shift, right by the neck. I'm gonna make one more joint. Maybe I'll make it right above the eyes or on top of the head. There. So I just set up 3 joints there. It's gonna be called my, I'll call it my body joint. Body joint, because it's gonna move the body. You can name it anything really, but I mean it's pretty self-descriptive. Body joint. This is gonna be my neck joint. And finally my head joint. I forgot a joint in between there for the shoulders. So let me delete these. Let me set it up again. I want to leave that one. The body joint is good, but I need one more joint that is going to be controlling the shoulders. So click on my body joint, set one joint right around here, one more for the head, and maybe I'll move it. I don't want it to move down here. I want the head to move somewhere in here, and then my head joint. Okay, so body joint. This will be my, this is the sternum joint. It's gonna be my neck joint. And head joint. Always naming everything. I don't want to come back later and start naming everything. I just want to name it right away, so I don't have to go. I don't have to come back and name every joint one at a time. I'll just do it as I make them. I want to start making the joints for my arms. Again, joint tool. Click on my sternum joint. Somewhere around here is where I want the rotation of my arm. Right in the middle of the geometry here where they intersect. I want another joint here. And this last joint is not necessary, but I'll put it there anyways, just for visual purposes. Something like that. I'll name it left underscore shoulder joint, left underscore elbow joint, left underscore wrist joint, left underscore hand joint. Again, I have my mirror option tool open, and I wanted to do the exact same thing as I did for the legs. I want to name my I want to search for L and replace with R, and I want it on the YZ axis. So apply, and notice that I'm doing it on the shoulder joint, not in the middle, because if I try to duplicate from the middle here, what's gonna happen is gonna get a double set of joints, and I don't want that. So let me undo, and I want to duplicate from here, from the shoulder. It automatically creates this bone in between, and there you go. It's a nice simple skeleton. I want to move it back. It's easier to move my skeleton back than having all this geometry move towards the front one at a time. So I'm just gonna hold my V key to snap to point and move it as far back as possible. Let me see. You know what? I might even want to move it behind my geometry. I think that's good. I like it behind the geometry. What I'm gonna do though is make sure that I click on this X-ray joints so that I can see through the geometry and still do my setup. So this is the basic setup for the joints, and I will continue the next lesson on the controls right after this.